So this wood is called Poalina, and this very wood was grown on the estate of former US President Jimmy Carter, who asked a fellow luthier if he could recommend some luthiers to make some instruments out of it to be auctioned off, and the proceeds go towards various things that needed to be done in the world, or things that need a helping hand, I presume, and also to raise awareness for new sustainable materials, fast-growing woods, stuff like that. All the sort of stuff that the world needs a bit more of. Less wars, more sustainable stuff. If you can't get behind that, what kind of person are you? Hello and welcome to Beau Hannam Guitars. I'm about to laminate these sides, and I thought I'd do a video on it because I haven't done one before on this. So you need 2 lengths of wax paper. Well, you can do it how you want, but this is how I do it. 2 lengths of wax paper, some thin hard foam. I think this is drawer liner from Home Depot or Lowe's, something like that. And your sides, some glue, and something to spread the glue out evenly. I use this paint thing. It's got some little divvy things in there. So I have my outer layer, and then the core, and then I have a decorative veneer. So this outer wood is that color, and I like to match the inner with the outer, just vaguely, it doesn't have to be exact. So this is I don't know how to pronounce it actually, but it's got an inner maple lining with Indian rosewood in the middle. If I was doing an Indian rosewood or any rosewood outer, I would have an Indian rosewood inner and then just leave it because it just looks close enough. So that's kind of all I need to know. I just make sure I make I shape the outer to the form of a side template. So if you look down that, you can see, so this is the top and this is the back. You can see that it's got that kind of shape on it. When you're making one of these, you get the length and then the waist, and then you just get this is just to vaguely do it. You get a 15-foot radius, and you just kind of do a 15-footish thing there, and then a 15-footish curve from the waist to the front, and that's good enough for a vague template until you bend the sides, put them in here, and then get them on the radiusing dish, and then you can really get a good template. And once I have them all, the sides blocked up and I've radiused them, then I make a perfect paper template, because you can put this on the outside and it just follows the curve, and you just trace around it, and you've got a perfect template. But you kind of need to make an instrument before you get the perfect template, unless you get one from someone else. So this is how I glue the sides. I use Titebond original or Titebond redcap. You can also use Epoxy, which doesn't have any water content. It's probably better, but I don't use it just because it's I just try to stay away from chemicals, and the Titebond does a perfectly good job. Also, how I'm going to clamp these up is, there's various ways to do it, but this is just the easiest way to do it, and it works perfectly fine. The other thing I have is, so this is my normal mold, and then I've just added a packer to it just so it's deep enough so I can laminate in the actual mold that I'm using. Yeah, it just saves making a whole nother bunch of molds, which, you know, who likes that? Okay, it's all a bit messy here, but it doesn't matter. So I just put what some may consider too much on, and then I trowel it, or, you know, spread it evenly across, and then just get rid of the excess. And the process is the same with epoxy, although you can see already how kind of messy it is. There are less messy ways to apply glue, like with a roller or something, but this is good. I used to use Titebond 3 because I thought it was better, but it's actually dries a lot rubberier, more rubbery than Titebond original. So, and the short work time or open time of Titebond original doesn't seem to be a problem. So I hand bend my sides, and there's a bit of glue there still. There's a lot more glue than I've seen others use, or others leave. But if there's any, you know, weird voids or something, or gaps in between the layers, then the extra amount of glue will take care of that. Just make sure the paper, wax paper, isn't sort of crinkled or folded over. So the same thing for the core, or, you know, if I was just doing a 2-ply, then I'd just put that in there and start clamping, but this is a 3-ply. This guitar is going to be sold at the Carter Foundation, the Jimmy Carter Foundation. All the proceeds are going towards the Carter Foundation anyway. And the wood was planted by the Jimmy Carter 20 years ago. So in the early 2000s or late 90s. And it was a sustainability promotion. He planted a fast-growing tree to promote alternative woods, and I'm not sure if it can be used for paper production or sort of a cottony substance, but yeah, I was honoured to be invited with a select group of luthiers to partake in this, but this video isn't about that, but I thought I'd mention it to show off. So that's good. about another 1/2 inch at the top here. Okay. Then the inner maple, I just make sure I push all this layers down. So the top, which is flat and doesn't have that curve or the radius on it, that is obviously sitting flat on the bench. Another piece of paper, the foam. Okay, so I normally have an extra deep waste call for these, but I didn't make one for this. I'll show you what I normally have though. So these are just my normal side or waste calls. Normally I have an extra deep one that I can, this is actually for a uke, so it's not deep enough, but if this was for this guitar it would be 1, maybe 2 layers higher, but you get the idea. But I've already bent up the first side of this, and just using these is fine. Sort of move the paper around so you can get a clear view into the waist. Just make sure everything's at a good place. Sometimes the waist slides around a little bit. And check that totally slid. I kind of like it when things go not wrong, but you just have to add more information in videos. It makes the video a better instructional tool, I think, or I know. Just watching how the luthier, or a car mechanic, or a woodworker deals with some little situation. It's always interesting, I find. Okay, so that's the waist. I have these 2 boxes of these strips of plywood, and they've got a cork face on them. These are the long ones, so they're for guitar lower bouts, and that other box here is they're a bit shorter, and I use those for ukes and also guitar upper bouts. So I have more of these shorties, so I'm going to try and use them. No, they don't work. So how I've been doing this lately is 2 of those. Obviously cork face in, and then just clamp right in the center of those 2, and so with 1 clamp you get the space of 2. For the upper bout I usually do 1 of these to 1 clamp. So you just keep going around. Actually, I'm going to keep those. These ones, the head is smaller than these, and they're actually better for the upper bout. So I'm going to save those orange clamps for the upper bout. Guitars are tight enough, and ukuleles are even worse. You can make, there are multiple ways to do this. Some use one sec, gotta get the clamp. Some use a vacuum bag, some use like these, but they're kind of connected and it's like a big snake or a sort of caterpillar thing. And there's another, I've only made one of these for the ukulele. And it's like, it just fits in there and you just use like 5 clamps and it does the whole job. It's great. But I've only got one of those and it's too much plywood and stuff for to use for a guitar. And this is fine. It's just sort of does the same quality of job. It's just takes a little bit longer. Good wine, by the way. I do the same thing on a uke as I'm doing here. It's just a little bit trickier because of the curves are tighter and it's hard to get clamps in. You'll see that when I do the upper bout. But even at the worst time, the guitar is easy compared to a uke. Then I make sure I put one of these right on the edge and have it overhanging a little bit, just so I get a really good clamp. Lovely. So that's half done. A bit more than half done. Some of these are a bit longer than others, so I'm kind of just trying to find the slightly longer short ones, if that makes sense. It's like a jumbo shrimp. What does that mean? Jumbo shrimp. Where I use these orange clamps. It gets a bit crowded. I'll probably come back and steal these two if need be. I also have some thinner ones and they're good for the upper bout. Probably you don't really need them for a guitar, but they're a bit of a must for a uke. It's also good to triangulate these a little bit, so on a curve you can get them closer together. So if you triangulate them this way, when you go around a curve, the base, that gap isn't there. So I'm going to change that to 2 thin ones because there wasn't quite enough space if I use 1 thin and 1 thick to put one more right at the end where I really need to make sure that it's a good fit. So I'm not sure how long that took, but it's all quite straightforward and easy, and I recommend just using the mold that you're going to be building in and just add a packer to it. So that's done. Now what I do, just check all these, seem good. I flip this porcupine over, clean up any squeeze out, and I just look for areas where it isn't clamped as good as it could be. Ideally you'd have 2 clamps. See this this one fell about almost like 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to push that up. Perfect. So ideally you'd have one side with clamps and the other side completely as many clamps as you see on the first side. But it doesn't seem to really require that, although it probably would be better. This one looks like it's gone in. All the side has gone in quite good. Apart from that one, it just fell down. And I often put these on in areas where it doesn't look like it needs any clamping help or pressure, but it's just out of I don't know, wanting to cover any hidden contingency. And you run out of clamps pretty quickly. I didn't count how many clamps I've used for this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you need about 30 clamps for one guitar side for this. So I had just enough clamps, like I was good on clamps, and then I started laminating sides and I realized I didn't have enough clamps. So Harbour Freight sell these, they're about $2 each. I would much rather 3 of these than one $10 Jorgensen clamp. Even though the orange ones are definitely better clamps, it's better to have more of a lesser quality. And when I say lesser quality, they're perfectly fine. They clamp. They do their clamping job. And at $2.99 or something ridiculous, they're very good. So I think we're good here. Try and get one more in here if I can. Nope, screw it. So that's done. So I'll just let that dry, and then it will turn out like this. Very stiff. Like I've got this much spring back, which just goes in really easily, so I can just block that up, end block and head block, and that'll be fine. There's probably, I mean, you can design a special mold which is a little bit bigger, so when you glue it up and it springs in like this, it will sort of spring into, you know, just perfect. But this is 98% good. It's fine. And if you use epoxy, that might happen a bit less because of no water content. But like I said, I'd rather just, I mean, that's just nothing. It just doesn't even enter my mind to worry about that. And the use of a water-based glue instead of epoxy, it's just a peace of mind, because I already deal in too many chemicals of, you know, nitro and acetone and all the other crap that I breathe in. So all I've got to do now is clean this, wait, you know, all day or overnight for this, because there's a lot of gluing surface here, and you want it to be well and truly dry. When I take this out, I actually leave a clamp on here and there, just in case there's any, if the glue's a little bit soft overnight, it'll just be nice. And this is a blocked up top, so you can see it's totally fine. This isn't clamped. These sides were the same as this, and just once you put a end block on there, totally fine. So I hope you learned something. I always enjoy doing these videos. If you want to see more of them, just subscribe and click that bell on the side of the subscribe button, which gives you or alerts you to when I upload another video. And if you want to see something specific, let me know and I'll try and do it. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. So this was a full bottle of Titebond, and that's how much glue I used to do 2 sides. So it's about 3/4 of an inch or something for each side. Just a bit of a tidbit. Thank you. Bye. I thought I'd quickly just show you the inside of this. And that's what I mean by just putting one last one in there that overlaps the end, and here as well. Okay, that's the packer doing its packy job. Thank you. Okay, so here I am with the Carter ukulele, and the sides have been laminated, left overnight to dry, and I've just taken off all the little things that I use to laminate with. So thin foam and wax paper. And more wax paper. So all this stuff gets trimmed off. So I shape the outside wood to a side template, and then the core and the inner I just sort of put in as a rectangle like that, and then trim it down later. But, so I just put it back in the mold, top down, and then just mark where I've got to trim it off on the bandsaw, and then I can go and block it up. Here's the Carter uke, all laminated up, and it's maple on the inside, and the Carter wood on the outside. Just got a little bit colour stain, but that'll sand out. That's one side, and that's the other side. So it'll be about that. So I just have to glue a block here and here, and then I'll have the body done. Okay, here's the Carter guitar. End block, head block, and this is going to be the uke, which I will put the blocks in right now. But these are going to make a very pretty set. I'm not sure if they'll sell. They'll probably sell separately, but you know, ideally they'd be bought together, which would be really cool. There's nothing like making and delivering a matched pair of instruments. They're really cool. They always look amazing, and it's always a pleasure to make them, especially when it's going to raise money for those in need. Cheers.